First name you mentioned was Kalonzo. Could you spell the surname, please?
Musyoka. M-U-S-Y-O-K-A.
Does the witness have a notepad in front of him with a pen that might assist him with his spellings? Court officer, please furnish him with a notepad and a pen in case he needs to write these things down to spell.
I'm grateful, Your Honor. That would assist. So, Mr. Witness, we had Kalonzo Musyoka, which you spelled for us kindly. You then provided the name Raila Odinga, which appears to have been properly picked up by the transcript. Were there any other individuals, key leaders of the ODM, the second ODM, at the time of its formation?
Musalia Mudavadi.
And I believe this is a name you provided earlier, Mudavadi, M-U-S-A-L-I-A, Mudavadi, M-U-D-A-V-A-D-I. Is that correct?
Yes.
Any others that come to mind?
There was also Julia Ojiambo, and she was also in her own political party called Labour Party, but she was also within the ODM by that time.
So you're telling, okay, perhaps we start with the spelling. Julia, as in Julia, Ojiambo, is that O-J-I-M-B-O? Would that be correct?
O-J-I-A-M-B-O.
And you say she was still part of the Labour Party, but had come together with those who were intending to form the ODM. Do you have any other names of prominent leaders of the new formed party?
Mr. William Ruto. Mr. Joseph Nyaga.
And Nyaga, is that spelled N-Y-A-G-A-H? Would that be correct?
Yes.
Now, Mr. William Ruto, was he still part of KANU at the time of the formation of the ODM, the second ODM?
By that time, he had not declared that he has resigned from KANU, because during that time he was still a member of parliament, and the party which sponsored Mr. Ruto to the parliament was KANU. He only became officially in ODM when the Electoral Commission body had given a go-ahead for people to go for elections or for party nominations.
Okay, so what you've described here is, to all intents and purposes, two ODM parties existing side by side. How did this come to be resolved eventually?
The ODM, as you know, we were going to have a presidential nomination. So among the members, the key leaders who were vying to be a presidential candidate or the flag bearer for the ODM, they couldn't reach a consensus, and some were even say, if it's not me, then I can't be anymore in ODM. So that's what made even some other people, key leaders, to walk out of ODM, like Julio Jambo dropped because she thought that when people goes for flag bearer nomination, maybe she will not be lucky to be elected as one of the flag bearer. So she had to leave. And also within that ODM, because we had remained with ODM party of Kenya. It was not ODM formal, or the other ODM original. So being that the person who went to do the registration was from Kamba region, it was called Daniel Manso, they canvassed with Mr. Kalonzo Musyoka. They ran out with the party, so Kalonzo Musyoka became the flag bearer of ODM Kenya, Party of Kenya. So they left Raila team without party.
Pause there, Mr. Witness. I asked you to pause mainly to deal with the number of spellings. So you're saying, if I'm correct, that the ODM Party of Kenya, the flag bearer nomination was actually won by Mr. Musyoka. Is that what you're telling us?
After Daniel Manso, who was holding the certificate of the party and the party symbol, talked with Mr. Kalonzo Musyoka, and then they agreed, and then Kalonzo picked the party. So he became the flag bearer of that ODM Party of Kenya, which was having a symbol of one full orange and a half.
And at this time, the original ODM that was initially set up, was Mr. Manyara still the leader of that party?
Mr. Manyara was holding the certificate and the party symbol, and he was the chairman of that party, and the party was his because he's the one who did the legal registration of the party.
Well, let's move back to ODM Party of Kenya then. When Mr. Musyoka won the flag bearer nomination, what became of the other key leaders that you mentioned earlier? Raila Odinga, William Samuel Ruto, Kalonzo. What became of them? What happened?
I've said Kalonzo never won because they never did the nomination of flag bearer. Kalonzo canvassed with Manso and they took the party. So Kalonzo automatically became the flag bearer of ODM Party of Kenya. He leave the rest like Mr. Raila Odinga, William Ruto, Joseph Nyaga, Charity Ngilu without a party. And time was running. It was not a good time. Even political party would have not registered by that time. So it forced Mr. Raila and the other Pentagon members to talk to see a possible solution where they can get another party, of which Mr. Joseph Nyaga tried and went to persuade Mr. Manyara to bring back the original party of ODM of which Mr. Manyara brought back.
So are you saying that Mr. Manyara agreed and reconciled with Mr. Raila Odinga, Mr. Samuel Ruto, and the others who were left without a party?
Yes.
Now, you've repeatedly referred to the Pentagon. For some of us, this simply refers to a five-sided figure. What did it mean in the context of the ODM?
This meant the number of the 5 key leaders, of which actually they became 6 when Madam Charity Ngilu joined them, but they could not leave the name Pentagon.
But this is something that occurred subsequently, and we'll come to that. But
you need to watch the transcript. I see here 5 cadres. I thought he meant key leaders. Sorry, I thought he said, I heard him say 5 key leaders.
that's what I heard as well, Your Honor. When you referred to Madam Charity Ngiru joining the Pentagon, were you referring to the fact that there were 5 leaders initially that formed the original Pentagon, but they kept the name nonetheless?
Yes. These 5 key leaders were Mr. Raila Odinga, Honorable William Ruto, Musalia Mudavadi, Joseph Nyaga, and Najib Balala.
And Najib Balala, would that be Najib Ballala?
Correct.
I think the only name missing from the transcript here appears to be Kalonzo. No.
I think it was Musalia Mudavadi.
Mudavadi. I'm grateful. Mr. Mudavadi, the name you mentioned earlier. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Now, to your knowledge, what was the purpose of this Pentagon?
According to the ODM policy and manifesto, ODM was going to deliver devolved government, devolved resources, and equal distribution of resources. So these 5 key leaders were representing regions. Mostly they were provinces back in Kenya. These provinces where they had great support were Rift Valley Province, whose key leader was Ruto, Coast Province, which had a key leader. Their key leader was Najib Balala. Nyaga was representing Upper Eastern.
Pause there, Mr. Witness. I'm just going to clarify something for the transcript before we go too far. Your Honor, I believe what the witness said was that the ODM was going to deliver devolved government. I believe the transcript says evolved government. Devolved government and devolved resources. And then the only other clarification that I seek from you, Ms. Witness, is you said Rift Valley province, whose key leader was Ruto, I'm quoting you, and then you said Coast province. Is that Coast or Coast province?
I spelled Coast, C-O-A-S-T.
And then you went on to Nyaga was representing Upper Eastern. Was that your testimony?
Yes. Then Musalia Mudavadi Western. And Ngilu Eastern.
And this is Charity Ngilu, the name you mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
Witness, you have to say yes or no. Yeah does not read well on the transcript. It may not represent your answer very well.
Sorry, Your Honor.
You meant yes?
I meant yes. Y-E-S.
Now, when you were interviewed by the Office of the Prosecutor, did you provide a sketch of what you believe to be the structure of the ODM, the one that you've been talking about, that took over the party of Mr. Manyara?
Yes.
Your Honors, I wonder if document KEN OTP 0077.
Your Honour, can I say that before that document's put, evidence should be listed from the witness regarding what is purportedly on that document, and then Your Honours will be in a position to assess the witness's account fully. But we've had this before. We shouldn't just put the document on the screen. Let's elicit the evidence in the usual way first.
I do not know what this document is. Mr. Mofade, do you have difficulty with the indication given by Mr. Ken?
Your Honors, I really can't see what the difficulty is. This is a sketch that the witness has sketched. I don't know, aside from the fact that the witness drew this, and then the idea...
So this is a sketch?
It is, Your Honor.
It's a previous consistent statement, if anything. That's what my learned friend wants to use. So in the same way he can't just read evidence out from a statement, he can't simply present a document drawn. There's no difference in principle. The correct way is to elicit evidence from the witness's mouth, not here's one I prepared earlier. This is not a cookery class. And Your Honours, that's why I've said previously, leading can take many forms. So my learned friend either can use an Elmo, he can elicit it by way of oral testimony, and then later on, once a foundation is drawn, if it becomes relevant, he can make an argument as to why a sketch can be put in. But what I'm interested in, with the greatest respect, is to hear from the witness, now in court, the witness's recollection regarding structure. We were not present when the statement was taken, and it would be useful in our submission for that evidence to be elicited in public before Your Honours, so we can assess how it's given.
Your Honours, there are two ways to go about this. I can elicit the testimony yet again, or I can ask the witness to draw yet another sketch, aside from the one that's already been disclosed to my friends, which they're aware of, to have a diagram of a sort explaining the structure of a complex organization, a political party, to elicit that and to form a sketch in our minds, I think is rather complicated. But I'm happy to lead the witness through this, but all that will happen is we'll ask him to draw another sketch.
Let me try to understand. Are we now talking about something like an organogram, or are we talking about a sketch of a location?
You know, more accurately, it is an organogram.
Why don't you try your best to elicit information on that in a very virtual way, and then we'll see whether you will need at the end of the day to wrap it up with a diagram.
You know, I'll do that. It's something that can be done. Mr. Witness, you've explained to us in brief terms the Pentagon and the 5 members that were at the, well, it became 6. You've explained 6 members of the Pentagon. What I would like you to do also is to tell us in your own words what the structure of the ODM itself was. Was there a chairman, for instance?
Okay, if I can start the way ODM was managed, it was at first the ODM had people first, Kenyan people first. That's why even within our campaign, it was written Raila People's President. So it was people's first, people's voice. Then down there was the 5 Pentagon members of the equal power. But of course, there had to be a flag bearer, which they got after 1st of September nomination. They had a flag bearer by the name Raila Odinga was their presidential flag bearer.
And just pause there, because when there became a flag bearer, how many members were there of the Pentagon?
Actually, the 5 Pentagon members, they went for a party nomination, which was done in the 1st of September at Kasarani Stadium. And Raila Odinga was elected to carry the party flag as the party flag bearer. Then he picked his running mate to be Musalia Mudavadi. And then the rest of the members remain within the Pentagon member, to be Pentagon members.
Okay, so in terms of structure, what was the next layer, if any, below the flag bearer and the Pentagon?
Below the flag bearer was sort of administrative staff or office, which was being headed by the executive director of the party, Madam Janet Ongera. And within there was some secretary and also accounts office. And besides, there was also a national elections board. Yes.
And Your Honour, now if it assists, I have no objection for the sketch to be shown.
You have no objection for the sketch to be brought in at this stage?
No, not at all, the organogram or drawing.
Mr. Mofade, that was a timely intervention because we are now at the lunch break. time. Why don't you bring in your sketch now? And then we can adjourn for lunch afterwards.
Your Honours, the aim was to, for the witness to have the organogram in front and then point to certain things, and subsequently for me to have it admitted. So I think there's a first step first, which we might ideally conclude with after lunch.
So then why don't we deal with the sketch and everything after lunch? Is that it?
Indeed, Your Honour.
Right. Why don't we proceed in that way? We will take our lunch break now and come back at 2:30. Mr. Ken, we owe you some information relating to your request to meet in chambers. We've inquired into it, as indicated earlier. Your request seemed reasonable, but it looks like logistically it might be a little too unwieldy for the court. We've inquired, and it looks like it'll be complicated. It's not as easy as we thought it would be. In that being the case, it would be better if you filed your request in writing. You'll make it easy for everyone.
Mr. President, is it possible in that case that I can do that tomorrow morning?
Fair enough, yes.
I'm grateful.
So we will rise for lunch now. The shades will first come down for the witness to leave the courtroom, to be escorted out, and then we'll rise after that.